back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Cross Examinations. Today we are diving into practical Christian living for young adults. We're tackling a topic that's super relevant if you're heading to or already in college: how to stay faithful in college. College is an amazing time of growth, new friends, and independence, but let's be real, it can also be a battlefield for your faith. Professors might even question the Bible's validity, friends could challenge your beliefs, and temptations are everywhere. But here's the good news: you don't have to rely on this just subjective feelings or blind faith. Your faith can be rooted in objective truth backed by solid evidence from apologetics. Apologetics is basically the defense of Christian living, Christian faith using reason and evidence. It's not arguing for the sake of it, but about showing why Christianity makes sense intellectually. And at the core of that is understanding that the Bible isn't just a collection of nice stories. It's trustworthy historically and prophetically. Today, we'll build on that foundation and give you practical tips to stay strong. Grab a notebook and let's jump in. Sorry, I had help with Grok writing the script. First of all, why is college such a tough spot for faith? This applies to high school too, by the way. I'm a high school leader. Have been for a long time now. But you're exposed to a ton of new ideas. Maybe a philosophy class pushes relativism. Truth is whatever you feel it is. Or a science lecture dismisses miracles as myths. Peers might mock Christianity as outdated. According to surveys, about 70%, this is sad, of young Christians who grew up in church disengage from faith during college years. But it doesn't have to be you. The key is shifting from, I believe because I was raised that way, to I believe because it's true. Let's start with the historical reliability of the Bible. Skeptics often say, I'm going to call them skinics. I'm going to call them cynics because they're not really skeptics. I'm sorry. The Bible's been copied so many times, it's like a game of telephone full of errors. But the evidence says otherwise. The New Testament alone has over 5,800 Greek manuscripts, plus thousands more in other languages. Compare that to other ancient works. Homer's Iliad has about 643 manuscripts, and Plato's writings have just 7. Yet no one questions their reliability. The earliest New Testament fragments date back to within 100 years of the originals. Actually, there's one that's like 40 years. But anyways, while for most ancient texts, it's centuries later. Textual critics, experts who compare these copies, are certain about 99.5% of the biblical text, with limited variations, mostly minor spelling differences, spelling, syntax. Nothing that changes any doctrines, like at all. And no, it's not just the New Testament. Archaeology backs up the Old Testament too. Discoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls from the 1940s confirmed that the text we have today match the ones from over 2,000 years ago. There was a 1,000-year gap before the Dead Sea Scrolls, from the earliest extant manuscripts to when we found the Dead Sea Scrolls. It shut down a bunch of questions about the reliability of the scriptures. Historical figures mentioned in the Bible like Pontius Pilate or King David have been verified through inscriptions and records. This isn't fairy tale stuff. It's history you can trust. Now let's talk about prophecy. This is where it gets mind-blowing. The Bible contains hundreds of predictions written centuries before they happened, proving it's thousands, proving it's not just human words, but divinely inspired. There are about 2,500 prophecies in the Bible. See, it's a script. With around 2,000 already fulfilled accurately. Take the prophecies about Jesus, the Messiah. Over 300 Old Testament prophecies point to him, and he fulfilled the ones that applied to his first coming. It says he fulfilled them all, but that's not accurate. For example, Micah 5:2, written around 700 BC, says the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. Jesus was. Isaiah 7:14 from the 8th century BC predicts a virgin birth fulfilled in Mary and Jesus. Psalm 22, written by David 1,000 years before Christ, describes the crucifixion in detail. They pierced my hands and my feet. They divide my garments among them. Jesus' death matched this exactly, down to the soldiers casting lots for his clothes. And Isaiah 53 paints a picture of a suffering servant who bears our sins. Historians confirm this was fulfilled in Jesus' crucifixion. Even bigger, the book of Daniel predicted the rise and fall of empires, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, with eerie accuracy centuries in advance. These aren't vague horoscopes like Nostradamus. They're specific, verifiable events. The odds of this happening by chance, astronomically low, as Grok would say. This shows the Bible is objective truth, not subjective opinion. So how do you apply this in college? Here are 5 practical steps grounded in apologetics. These are actually pretty good. Build your foundation. Dive deep. And I'm trying to pressure this. I've been in high school and junior high ministry for this is my 11th year. I've raised 5 kids all the way through teenagehood. I mean, my youngest is a teenager. So high school and college age, this is my whole range of children. And I've always tried to press in on apologetics. So this is very important. Dive into apologetic resources. Read books like The Case for Christ, great one, Lee Strobel, and Evidence That Demands a Verdict, another great one, by Josh McDowell. Watch videos from channels like Apologetics Press or Reasonable Faith. I would also suggest Cliff Connectley on Give Me an Answer. I think that's the name of his channel. I think that's what it's called. Great stuff. Know why you believe. That is the important. Don't just believe because your parents told you to. Find out why your faith is. Look, your parents might just be running the Christian circles, right? Your parents might not be saved. Jesus doesn't have any grandchildren. God doesn't have any grandchildren, right? So, this is foundational stuff. Join a community. Number 2, don't go solo. Find a campus ministry like CRU, InterVarsity, or a local church college group. Surround yourself with believers who can discuss these evidences and pray with you. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron. Accountability keeps your faith sharp. Engage thoughtfully when challenges come. Don't hide. Respond with grace and evidence. If a professor questions the Bible's history, share about the manuscripts. If a friend doubts prophecy, point to Jesus' fulfillments. 1 Peter 3:15 urges us to always be prepared to give an answer, but do it respectfully. And also, you don't always have to have an answer right then and there. There's an answer for everything. The Bible is trustworthy, and there is an answer for everything. You have to trust in that. And when someone approaches you with something and you don't have the answer, don't run away and start doubting your faith. Doubt their claim and then go do the research. Grok AI makes this so easy now. Go do the research. Whatever claim they make, just go dig down to the root of that claim, and you'll discover time after time after time that there's always an answer, and it's always rational, it's always reasonable, it's always logical, and the most they have to stand on is a bunch of assumptions and conjectures. And when you're going from, hey, this book tells is written, authored from outside of time and space, to, well, I have a theory. What are you going to rely on? Time and space? Authorship? I have a theory. Well, actually, it's not my theory. It's somebody else's theory. But I built on that theory with another theory. And then someone else built on that theory with another theory. And we now have so many theories that clearly your prophetic writings from outside of time and space can't stand up to our theories. All right, number 4, daily devotion with a twist. Make Bible study part of your routine, but include apologetics. Use apps like YouVersion or Bible Gateway to cross-reference prophecies. Pray for wisdom to see God's truth in your classes. And again, do the other resources. This stuff needs to be learned. You're going to college, you're going to school to learn subjects. The first most important subject you should learn is the Bible and why it's trustworthy, because it can guide you through your entire life, not just through your college processes. And trust me, I was raised agnostic. Having God in your life is far superior, and you will make far fewer mistakes that you will regret for the rest of your life. And 5, guard your heart. College has temptations, parties, relationships. They can pull you away. Remember, faithfulness isn't just intellectual, it is holistic. Set boundaries based on Scripture's objective standards, like Ephesians 5's call to walk in love and purity. Wrapping this up, staying faithful in college isn't about willpower alone. It's about anchoring in the objective truth of a historically and prophetically reliable Bible. Apologetics gives you the tools to stand firm. If this resonated, hit that like button, subscribe for more practical faith tips, and comment below. What is your biggest college faith challenge? I'd love to hear and maybe cover it next. Thanks for watching. Go out and live boldly for Christ. God bless. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live. I'm your host, Mike Miller. I'm not a pastor, priest, rabbi, or any of that stuff. You know me if you've been here before. What a weird opening. Yeah, I'm trying to find unserved niches in the college, not the college, in the Christian realm. And apparently guides for kids, and how this is something I have not been paying enough attention to, being a freaking youth leader for all these years. My kids are this target demographic, high school and college age, and you see it. I see it at high school. It's sad. People just disappear. They walk away from their fellowships. They walk away from their friends. They walk away from their faith, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And you know, how I have not tackled this subject earlier, I don't know, but it's important, and I might start focusing more on that. I kind of do it here, but it's kind of a scattershot everybody audience, right? But that is where my sort of ministry time has been going to, outside of Cross Examinations, for the last 11 years, right? Well, 10 years. This is my 11th year, so it doesn't really count as my 11th year. But yeah, so I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna make it a shorter video to try to introduce some younger people into the audience, and hopefully they can join us and build their faith and their foundation, and hopefully they'll see through all the challenges that I even take on this channel that there is an answer to everything. There's an answer to everything. I discovered this. For those of you who don't know, this is how I became kind of fell into this field of doing apologetic stuff. Is like, when I was raised agnostic, obviously. Well, obviously, I said that already. And when I did the research on the Bible and discovered all these, I discovered it's written from outside of time and space as an integrated message system from a creator who loves us. I challenged it by going to, this is back in the 90s. I would go to the atheists' message boards, and I would be like, hey, I'm a new Christian. I've been convinced that the Bible is trustworthy and authoritative. Give me what you got. I'll take on all questions. And I did what I said in that little script. I got the question, and I went and I did the research. The nice thing about message boards is it's not like Twitter, where like someone, if you don't answer somebody in 5 minutes, they're like, oh, no answer, huh? It was like somebody could ask a question. I could come back 5 days later if I want an answer, but I did it that day. But I would get a question, and if I didn't know the answer, I would go and research and find a logical, reasonable, rational answer. And there always was one. And I did this for years, like hours and hours and hours every day. So that's how I kind of got into the whole apologizing. All right, let's say hello to Tina, Justin, March Hare, Chuck's here, Tanner's here. What's up, guys? Justin, I said that already. John Mintz, hello, hello. Justin says, even if you take the miraculous stuff out of the Bible, the rest is extremely reliable, which leads to the reliability of the miraculous content. Right. This is absolutely true. And we've gone over that over and over again. Archaeological evidence it's ridiculous. It's almost ridiculous how much archaeological evidence is found regularly, like literally daily. They find what did I say it was when I looked this up? It was like they find like 12 things a day. On average, they're doing so much archaeology now. They're digging up stuff in the Middle East. They find like 12 items of biblical archaeology a day. Now, a bunch of those are copies, right? It's like, oh, another coin from the time of David. Okay, put it in the stack. But like stuff like that, right? Oh, another shard of pottery that says Solomon's name on it. Put it in the stack. But they find like 12 items that are like, I don't call them insignificant, but they're probably things that's like, oh, that's great. I want to add that to my collection so people can buy them and whatever. But they find 12 to 15 significant new archaeological discoveries every year. So like once a month, at least, some great new big archaeological discovery that confirms the Bible is made. And it's people who say they don't trust the Bible because it's historically inaccurate. What they're trying to do, obviously, they're trying to throw shade on the Bible and say it's not trustworthy. But what they're using are things that haven't been corroborated. Oh gosh, there's no corroboration for Moses. Moses' name isn't carved anywhere in Egypt, so Moses didn't exist. It's like, okay, so much of this book has been corroborated historically, the historical times, places, and events, that any reasonable, rational person would give the benefit of the doubt to the stuff that has not yet been corroborated. Should we take that to Grok? What do you guys think? Should we go to Grok and be like, hey, how much archaeological evidence is there? And blah, blah, blah. That's actually not a bad idea. Maybe we'll do that. Give me my... First, I need my phone. What happened? Nobody said anything in 4 minutes. You guys still there in the chat? Justin says, to be fair, as Daniel is still debated when it was written, even if we believe it is older. Oh, even if you take the miraculous stuff out. Okay, gotcha. Really thought-provoking conversations with Grok last time about building blocks of life, RNA, etc. Thank you, Chuck. Yeah, if you missed that one, I think I have some of the clips up. That was good stuff. The Noah stuff, too. The global flood. It's so funny. The responses to the global flood video are just people who completely ignored the argument. They're like, no, we don't have any evidence of the global flood. So I just went and I asked Grok, can you list all of the evidence for the global flood? Should I read that? It was evidence for global flood debate. Let's see. Okay. Evidence for the global flood. I'm just going to hit these real quick. Marine fossils found on high mountains and continents. Massive fossil graveyards worldwide. Exquisitely preserved fossils, including soft-bodied organisms. Sediment layers spread across vast continental areas. Features within each of these has a descriptor, by the way. If you want me to read the whole thing, I can. But features within sedimentary layers indicating rapid, violent deposition. lack of evidence for long time gaps between sedimentary layers, long distance transports of rocks and minerals. Rocks like quartzite in Oregon are found over 300 miles from their source, potentially due to floodwaters standing above mountains and then receding violently, as referenced in Psalm 10. Flood legends in diverse cultures worldwide. That's what the video was about. And then scriptural. I don't even need to go into scriptural evidences. So yeah, as someone who's, there's no evidence. It's like, yes, there is evidence. You've just never been taught any of the evidence because you went to public school and college where they teach you everything else. They don't ever mention all of the evidence that they would never mention evidence that went against Darwinian evolution. That's the bottom line. They will never, ever teach you anything that goes against Darwinian evolution. And therefore you get inculcated and you get propagandized. This is the problem with these schools. Because if they're seeking for truth, they would show all the evidence and then let you come to the conclusion for truth, right? But they don't want to teach you how to think. They want to teach you what to think. They want you indoctrinated into Darwinian evolution. Okay, we're just listening to you. Yes, we're working in the garage and listening along. Right on. Okay. All right, let's now I totally blanked on what I wanted to go research. Was it the reliability? What was I saying earlier? Sorry, my brain farted again, as it's wont to do. Maybe I've just not had enough coffee. Oh, by the way, happy Labor Day. Labor Day is a communist holiday, so I'm not really happy about it, but whatever. At least most of you got the day off of work. Oh my gosh. I gotta call the auto shop. So driving home from fishing on Saturday night, I take my kids fishing every Saturday with some of the high school kids. We have our little Bible study fishing group. And on the way there, I started getting this flickering battery notification. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll just deal that when we get to the pier. So we get to the pier, and then I'm not really thinking about it that much. I'm like, I'll just deal with it when we have to leave. So it's like time to leave, and I get in the car and I'm like, please, Lord Jesus, let this car start. Because it wouldn't. When we got there and I turned the car off and then I went to crank it again, or press the button to start, it wouldn't start. And I'm like, we'll deal with this when we leave. This was very, very immature. I should have just turned around. As soon as that light came on, I should have turned around and come home. It would have been a much less eventful evening. So I get there and then get to the car. Lord, please let this car start. And I press a button and it starts. And I'm like, let's go. Pack everything up. Get it in the car. And then I'm driving home, and there's this bridge that takes us onto the highway. I'm getting near, not very near, but I'm getting near the top of the bridge, and my car goes into neutral, and my engine dies, and I'm drifting. And I'm like, please get me over the top of this bridge. And I do. I get over the top of the bridge, and then the down coast on the thing takes me onto Highway 5, which is like the busiest highway in San Diego, even on a Saturday night. And I'm drifting down, and then finally stop. I pull the car over. I'm on the shoulder, and it comes to a stop. My friend's in the car. He's got AAA. We call AAA. But then after talking to AAA I don't know if it's the alternator, the battery, or what. But whatever it is, I can't afford it right now, but so I've talked to AAA for a while, and they're like, well, they can only tow you 7 miles, and then after that, it's $12 a mile. I'm like, that's going to be like $100 to get me home. So I'm like, I'll forget that. I'm going to call my insurance company. And I call my insurance company. Here's the thing. I've had Liberty Mutual since I'm 17 years old. I'm 54, turned 54 last week. Since I'm 17, I've had Liberty Mutual. And just recently, I don't know if it's, I don't know why. I really never looked into it. Liberty Mutual, like, left or something, or shifted its business, gave its policyholders to another insurance company. And I didn't have the new paperwork in my car for the first time. I've only had to call for roadside assistance like 2 or 3 times since I'm 17 years old. This is crazy. And one of the times happens to be when they switch me to a new policy, and I don't have the paperwork in my car. So I'm talking to Liberty Mutual for a half an hour, and then I'm like, they can't help me. Ultimately, they're like, well, you're just gonna have to pay for this yourself. I'm like, well, you're the ones that gave me to another insurance company. Can you figure out what my policy number is there? And they're like, you're not in the system, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, my stars and garters. So then I get on the phone with, I had to go look on my phone, look up my emails, find the name of the company, call them. Then I'm on the phone with them for 20 minutes. It's been like an hour now. And we're on the side of the highway with cars going by literally at 80 miles an hour. And one of the kids that was with, he's like, how are you guys not panicked? And I'm like, and my boys are just in the back on their phones. We're a very chill family. And so I'm on the phone with these guys for 20 minutes, and we're trying to find the thing because I don't have the paperwork and blah, blah, blah. And then Liberty Mutual, and then I get a call from a tow truck from my friend's AAA, and he's like, I don't see you on the highway. Can you see me? And I look up and I see his flashing lights, and I'm like, yeah, I see you. And I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna use my friend's AAA. And then I'm like, the guy just shows up that I had called an hour earlier, but I was on the phone call with 2 other insurance companies since then for an hour. And then, yeah, it's like, so they only give you 7 miles. So thankfully I'm in an area I used to live. So I'm like, oh, this is the auto shop I used to take my car to. It was only like 3 miles away, maybe something like that. And so I had him just tow it to that auto shop. But I'm sure they're closed today. I haven't even called him yet. And I meant to do that, but then I got busy doing all this stuff. And so now I'm here. Anyways, it was a very eventful night. And then we had to walk off. We're right next to an on-ramp. All right. So we walked down the on-ramp and then into Little Italy. And then while we're walking towards Little Italy, we saw a car accident. And then we had to get an Uber because it's like 4 of us, and my wife couldn't come pick us up in the car because she had JoJo, and so it was too many people. And long story short, sorry, that's too late. Crap. Now I have to deal with my car, and we'll find out. They must have been behind on EMU payments. What? Mike, try checking your battery cables, terminals, and clean them. See if that helps. You can do that. Well, it dawned on me, because I was talking to a friend of mine at church about this yesterday, he had a similar thing happen to him, and it was his battery. He needed a new battery. And you know how much batteries are these days? Holy cow. I remember when a battery was $50 and it wasn't that long ago. You go to a store now, battery, if you go to like one of these regular auto shops, a battery can be like $300 for a freaking battery. Heck no, you can't get any decent customer service help anymore. They're all worthless. I know. They ain't messing with the price of batteries anymore. Tina, your caps lock is locked. But he said something similar happened to him, and it was just his battery. So, God willing, it's just my battery because I haven't had it. That's a 2016. My Pilot is a 2016, and I have never changed the battery. So, my battery light has been on for a while. Right? Batteries are as much as I paid for my first car. That's right. My first car was $500, and batteries are like $300 now. It blows your mind, doesn't it? It's like why? Aren't they just lead acid batteries? What is so expensive now about lead or acid? It's probably the battery. Could be the alternator though. Yeah. I'm hoping it's the battery because I really don't want to pay for a new alternator. But I don't think an alternator would go out on a 9-year-old car, right? With car batteries that expensive, how am I going to feed the ocean? What? Here I bought a Ford Fiesta for $50 one time. Oh, yeah, I've had cheaper cars. I traded a car. This is so bad. Okay. I was raised agnostic, so I was not a Christian boy. I traded a car for a bag of weed one time. And then I traded a car literally for a painting one time. I had so many cars when I was young. Like, it was crazy. I just had to replace the battery. It was $114. Oh, do you have like a teeny tiny car? Well, that's also a good point. I think the smaller your car is, the smaller your battery is, and the cheaper it is. So, but when you're talking about like, even my Accord battery at Costco was like $200 at Costco, which means if I'd have got it at the regular store, it probably would have been $300. But the Pilot battery is probably going to be a bigger battery. What? The ocean is where you throw car batteries. No, you don't. You take them back to the shop to get the deposit back. Lead acid batteries used to fetch a good price at the scrapyard. Now they don't pay crap, so I really don't understand why the new ones are so expensive. I guess raising the price for car batteries is good for the environment. I don't think so. The battery for my Sorento is just over $200. Yeesh. My first car was a 66 Impala 4-door. I paid $350. Absolutely love that car. And my 66 Impala. Nice. The piece of crap Ford I had, reverse didn't work. If I parked, I'd have someone help me push it backwards out of the parking lot. You know, it's funny. I have a friend, and this happened during the remember after COVID when there were no used cars because we couldn't get any chips from China? Right. Couldn't get any chips, so they couldn't finish the cars. So they couldn't have any new cars, which means everybody was buying the used cars, and then the price of used cars went through the roof. Remember that time? Well, I have a friend in Florida. Oh, you guys would know him. He was oh my gosh, now I'm blanking. Ben. Remember Ben Henderson? He was part of the whole Comicsgate community back then. So he was telling me he and his nephew made $400,000 that year. You know what they were doing? They were picking up people's used cars who didn't want them, anymore. Like, people like, oh man, my car died. It's just been sitting in my yard for 2 years. Can someone take my car, or can someone buy my car for $500 or something like that? So they'd go around buying those, right? And then buying or just collecting those cars. And he said 9 times out of 10, literally 90% of the time, all the car needed was a new cable. And replacing a cable is like, a 10-minute job. And so he'd put a new cable in, he'd put a new battery in, and he'd, spray some engine starter in it, crank that thing up, get it working, clean it up, detail it, put it on the market, and he'd sell this thing he got for free. Then he put $300 into, sell it for $5,000 or $10,000, depending on the car. He's like, I made $400,000 that year. I'm like, dang, Sonny. You got to know a little bit about cars to know, but that was great. That was great for him. It used to be big business buying junk cars, just parting them out brought in decent money. Yeah. In California, that's hard to do because we have this ridiculous cat converter law that our cat converters have to have, what is it called? What's that really, really, the more expensive? Platinum. Our cat converters have platinum in them. Most cat converters, I think, in other states have gold in them, which they use to ionize or clean the exhaust somehow. I don't even know how they work. But the California ones have platinum in them, which makes a cat converter for our smog tests. Like if I want to get new cats for my Accord or something, at this, actually, I'm thinking like 5 or 10-year-old rates. Back then, it would have been like $1,200. I bet you now it's like $2,000 to $3,000 based on how much everything has gone up recently. I bet you it's $2,000 to $3,000 just to replace cats on an old car. So a lot of the older cars, it's more expensive to replace the cats than the car is worth in California. So you either send it to the junkyard or you can like send it to another state where you can switch out cats for $300. But we have such stringent smog policy rules here. And nowadays, the cats they sell, this is what my mechanic told me, the cats they sell now, when they do smogs, they check the serial numbers on the cats to make sure that you're not buying Arizona cat converters. I think new cats are about $3,000. Oh my gosh. I know. That's what I suspected. That is what I suspected. So your converters go out on your new on your cars nowadays. That's the price of a transmission. Isn't that insane? It's just a little thing that you just plug into your manifold or your exhaust manifold, right? It costs as much as a transmission. Actually, the transmission's probably more now. Everything's gone up lately. It's crazy. All right. Who said? Doran says most people who study theology quit theology. Can you give me some information on that, Doran? Can you give me some a study or something where you found that to be true? Some scumbag stealing mine is a fear I have. Oh, what show was that? Tulsa King. Did you guys watch Tulsa King? The guy comes and they steal all the catalytic converters from this new car lot. But he says most people who say they tried to disprove Jesus' existence become Christians. There you go. Do you have any wild how that works when we can just say stuff, right? Right? Do you have any studies on that, buddy? I doubt there are any studies on that or the other. Tina's from my art project. All right, I was gonna do. So nobody remembers what I was gonna go ask Grok, huh? Type it in Grok. All right, we have a Grok request from Doran Beckford. And I don't type in Grok. I use voice mode. Boop. Grok, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. I have a question for you. Are there any studies or any polls or anything about the percentage of people who study theology and then quit theology?
From what I've seen, surveys like the Portraits of American Life study and Pew's Religious Landscape show that folks with unorthodox or weaker theology views are far more likely to drift away from religious practice altogether. Around 1.5% quit annually in recent years, with bad theology as a key factor. In the UK,
do you think that 1.5% of those people studying theology would be considered most people, as Doran Beckford asserts?
No, 1.5% is a tiny fraction, not what anyone would call most people.
I think you're right, Grok. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doran, did you want to make any other retarded assertions? What a great argument you made. Oh, crap. Breaking news. People who incorrectly study things typically walk away from it disagreeing. What do I always say? Theology matters. I know, right? It's true. It's very true. LOL, good job. I resign. But come up with something else. Let's ask Grok some more questions. I love the Grok thing. It's so much fun. It's so funny. One of the complaints about me using Grok in the comment section was they're like, "Oh my gosh, Grok is like the Christian's new god." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You just hate the fact that I can get someone or something that has like pretty much access to all the information on the internet to absent themselves of personal bias and come to logical, rational conclusions that disagree with your preconceptions." And they get so very, very butthurt. The atheists are going to hate the fact that AI was invented because you remove personal biases and you remove preconceived notions and the theories, the unproven, unprovable theories, or you just take their theories to their logical conclusions and you discover nothing about atheism works. Nothing works. They think they're so logical and pure, and all they are is wrong. We'll just say wrong. Heard something about that. Not sure how true it is and haven't had time to look into it. What, Zeta? Oh, doesn't Grok and most AI scrape Reddit for information? It's one of the sources. Yeah. It scrapes like anything and everything on the internet. So, and then it cross references everything like in seconds. Come on, somebody hit me with another question. What's another good question for Grok? We got 15 minutes left. We can burn through some good stuff in 15 minutes. Where's all the atheists? It seems like, oh yeah, it's not 5 minutes till the end. Like, I mean, I heard Reddit is something like 70% of it's. I don't think so. No, because when you type a question into Grok, it'll highlight all of the different sources it goes to, and Reddit is not 70% of its sources. It's like one among. I mean, it depends on what the question is. I can go look something up specifically and see if it pops up. Actually, let me see what this. Oh, this one didn't highlight. Oh, actually, you know what? 20 web pages for this question. All right. So, for example, when I asked about, I asked, can you list all of the evidence for the global flood? It went to Answers in Genesis, Got Questions, ICR, Answers in Genesis, Reddit, ABC News, YouTube, Answers in Genesis, Wikipedia, BioLogos, Liberty.education, Smithsonian Magazine, Live Science, YouTube, csun.edu, NCSE, creation.com, BibleInterpArizona.edu, JW.org, and YouTube. So it went to 20 different web pages, and then cross-reference all the information. And so, yeah, it'll go to biased sources on both sides. You could just ask it to not check Reddit. Oh, that's a good point. Mike, I got it with the Canaanites origin. Israelites, though, like for real. Ask Grok to show you where Israelites origin from Canaanites directly. You there? All right. Grok, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
According to history and all available archaeological evidence, where did Abraham come from?
According to Genesis and the archaeology around ancient Mesopotamia, Abraham came from Ur in southern Iraq, back then a bustling trade hub on the Euphrates.
And then where did he go?
He packed up for Haran in modern Turkey, lived there a bit, then headed south to Canaan, what's now Israel and Palestine, following God's call.
And how long did he live in Canaan?
He settled in Canaan for most of his life. Tradition says about 75 years, from age 25 onward, though the stories focus more on his travels than exact dates.
And where was his wife from?
She was from the same region, or at least Mesopotamia.
So they were not Canaanites.
No, they weren't Canaanites.
Okay, and who was his son?
Isaac, his son with Sarah, born in Canaan.
And where was Isaac's wife from?
Rebecca came from Haran, up in modern-day Turkey, where Abraham's kin had settled.
And what was their son's name?
Jacob. He and his brother Esau were twins, with Jacob taking the lead in the family line.
And where did Jacob's wife come from?
Rachel came from Haran too, from Abraham's kin. Jacob went back there to find a wife.
And so would you say that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and their kin were Canaanites?
No, the tradition paints them as outsiders, Aramean nomads from Mesopotamia, living among the Canaanites, not as locals themselves.
However, they would have learned the Canaanite language to live in the region.
Yeah, they'd have picked up the local Canaanite tongue to trade and mingle, but their roots stayed tied to the Aramean dialects from back east.
But would that not explain why the Israelites spoke a derivative of the Canaanite language?
That's spot on. The Israelites ended up speaking Canaanite since they settled there and blended in over generations.
Okay, but then where did the descendants of Israel go?
Eventually they moved to Egypt. Joseph brought the family down during a famine, and they stayed for a few centuries before heading back to Canaan.
Okay, so if I asked you the question, what is the origin of the Israelites from the Canaanites, what would your answer be?
The Israelites started out as a small Aramean clan that migrated into Canaan, adopted the local language and some customs, then grew into a distinct nation after their long stint in Egypt and the return under Moses.
And what is the origin of the Canaanites?
The Canaanites trace back to the Bronze Age, emerging around 3000 BC in the Levant, basically from local farmer-herder groups who mixed with newcomers from the east, like the Amorites.
Okay. So they are different people groups. The Israelites and the Canaanites are different people groups.
Yeah, they began as separate, Aramean outsiders versus the established locals. But over centuries, intermarriage and shared turf blurred the lines a lot.
When was this?
Around 2000 BC.
No. I mean, when in the chronology of Israel did they start blending with the Canaanites?
After the conquest under Joshua, roughly 1300 BC, when lots of Israelites stayed in mixed villages instead of wiping out the locals.
And was that primarily the northern kingdom?
The mixing happened all over, north and south, but the north, with its bigger cities and trade routes, saw more intermarriage and cultural overlap early on.
And would you say that is why the Israelites started adopting the Canaanite gods?
Yeah, that mixing, especially in the north, meant they rubbed shoulders with Baal and Asherah cults, and over time, some folks started slipping those deities into their worship.
Right. So you would not say that the Israelites' worship of the Canaanites was their original worship. It was adopted after they took over the land of Canaan.
Absolutely. They came in with a strict monotheism rooted in Yahweh, but the gods they picked up later were Canaanite imports.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
Dorn says, yes, the Canaanites are a mixture of all people, but over the century they crossed and believed in Canaanites.
Doran's got a point. They did mix, but it wasn't some ancient melting pot from day one. The blending happened slowly after they settled, and the gods crept in alongside.
Right, but that went against the teachings of Moses and Yahweh.
Totally. Moses laid out crystal clear rules. No local gods, no shrines on high hills. Keep it Yahweh only.
Were they supposed to be keeping it Israelite only?
The rules were more about purity than purity of blood. Don't marry into Canaanite royal houses, but you could take ordinary folk if they signed on to Yahweh and ditched their idols.
Right on. So it was about faith.
Yeah, faith was the line. Stick with Yahweh, and you could be part of the people.
Doran asks, before that, how did Yahweh get into the Israelites' culture?
Yahweh first shows up in the stories as the God who met Moses in the burning bush and made the covenant on Sinai, probably rooted in an older Midianite or southern desert tradition that Moses brought back to the clan.
Okay, understanding that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was Yahweh, even if he didn't reveal his name to them, the monotheistic God that Abraham followed, where does that come from?
That idea of one supreme God probably came with Abraham from the east. Some scholars link it to early Mesopotamian thinkers who started pushing away from the crowded pantheons, though we've got no hard proof.
Well, seeing that Noah, who obviously was a believer in the one true God, died within the generation that Abraham was born, is it not likely that that belief system predates the pantheistic belief systems?
Yeah, Noah's story sets a monotheistic thread way back, Tradition has him dying just before Abraham's birth, so it's fair to say that one God faith could have been passed down through those early generations, predating the polytheism that later exploded across Mesopotamia.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
All right. You're not still listening, are you? Okay. No, Doran. Can you not hear? I asked it directly. I don't understand you, dude. So you have to play lawyer to Grok. No, I don't. I don't have to play lawyer, dude. Because you're asking the question in the wrong way. You're asking a question that does not understand the narrative of the Bible. All right, Dark Admiral, we'll see you next time. How did Yahweh come to the Israelites? Ask directly. I asked directly. It said through Moses, but he was not. That's because Yahweh gave his name to Moses, but he didn't give his name to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But it's the same God. And it's that monotheistic God that you have to trace back. And obviously he said that monotheism came from where Abram came from. He just laid it out. Abram, Isaac, Jacob, they were a separate people group. They maintained their people group by going back to their original Haran to get wives for their kids. And then they went to Egypt. Those people went to Egypt, grew into a bunch of people group, took over, wiped out the Canaanites. Unfortunately, they didn't wipe all of them out. They started interbreeding with some of them. That does not mean they came from the Canaanites. How do you not understand this? How does that not sink into your brain? You're so stuck on your idea of what happened that you're unwilling to understand what happened. It's left tire guy. You Christians are stupid. Y'all know nothing of the Bible. What do you got, left tire? What do you got? Let me know. Jethro is outside of Hebrew lineage, and his name as a priest of the Most High before Moses even gets there, where he ran from Egypt the first time. What argument is being made here? I know. He's trying to make the argument that Yahweh was simply lifted out, even though he's not even mentioned in any Canaan. He's not a Canaanite god. That Yahweh was lifted out of the gods of the Canaanite, and then made the one true God. I believe that's his ridiculous argument. Where did Abraham get that from? Probably Noah. It wasn't... Bro. This idea that everybody used to be polytheistic, and then suddenly the idea of monotheism was introduced. That's all conjecture. And it's conjecture because you don't want to agree that the Bible is historically accurate. The Bible has a tale to tell. The Bible says that the one true God was the God of Noah, that they interspersed. The people started picking up gods after that fact. When Noah landed on Mount Ararat, that was it. There was one God worshipped on earth. And that's why he wiped, probably, big reason why God wiped out the rest of the planet. They were probably chasing after false gods. They were probably making trees into gods, and like we do now, right? Green movement, that's what they do. You're leading Grok to answer those questions. You're smart enough to lead Grok and not ask direct. You lead Grok. If you ever debated with me, you would be crushed, my friend. Dorn, we've debated ad nauseum in the Discord. And sorry, dude, you're a brick wall. You just ask directly, is Yahweh a Canaanite god? I'll do better than that. Grok, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you list all of the Canaanite gods we've found in archaeology?
From digs like Ugarit and Lachish, we've got clear evidence of El as the top god, Baal the Stormbringer with his smiting figurines, Asherah as his consort, Anat the war goddess, Astarte for fertility and love, Dagon the grain deity, Resheph the plague god, and Yarek the moon god.
You didn't list Yahweh.
Yahweh doesn't show up in Canaanite texts or digs as one of their gods. You have to the Israelite story, not the local pantheon.
Okay. Thank you very much, Groft. Are you happy now, Doran? Because I've shown that to you before. Yahweh is not a Canaanite god. And with that, we're over an hour. Thank you everywhere. Da ha ha ha. Right? It's like arguing. I don't even know what it's like arguing with. It's just so infuriating that you won't just understand. All right, thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you on the next exciting episode of Cross Examinations. If you want to continue this conversation, head on over to the Discord, and we'll see you on the next exciting episode. Peace.